Hi everyone, this is Rayon Paper. Welcome to another video. First of all, there may be quite a bit of background noise for this video, and that is because it is the 30th of December and with people I mostly mean 12-year-olds outside, are already setting off fireworks everywhere, and honestly, the entire town just sounds like a war zone, and I absolutely hate it, but there's nothing really I can do about it. And the only time it's really quiet is at night, but then the lighting is too bad to do any filming. So we're just gonna have to hope that it'll be okay for now. But I do apologize in advance if there's some like fireworks sounds in the background. Maybe you find them festive. That's okay. I mean, I do like the fireworks, like on the 1st of January at midnight, but not like for the entire week. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, this is quite an exciting video because I'm finally starting to do some stuff in this Kuroneko diary, which is by MD Paper or Midori. And I got this as a language planner. At least that's what I'm going to use it for. And I'm going to combine this with something very exciting that I got sent by the lovely folks over at Ohuhu. You may know Ohuhu already if you are more in the bullet journaling scene or maybe more in the art scene. They make art supplies, both water-based and alcohol-based art supplies like markers and dot markers. And I have a couple of Tombow jewel brush markers and I do use them occasionally. But one of the goals that I have for next year is to draw and illustrate a bit more for myself. I love using stickers because it's easy, and I love so many art styles that other people have that I just love using their stickers. But I would really like to get a bit more creative myself. Now, I'm not really going to draw in this video, well, not much at least, but I am going to use these markers to do a bit of setup. Now, can I get this? No, I'm going to have to rip this. So yeah, the folks from Ohuhu asked me if I wanted to try some of their materials, and of course I want to try them. I always want to try new stuff. So we got this. This is a case of 60 markers. These are water-based, so they're not going to bleed right through the paper, which is great. And look at this. Ooh, we even have a little card with, oh, I love this. I am so happy that they included like numbers and names for the pens, because I hate it when, for example, I have the Crayola Super Tips, like just like the markers, and they don't have a number, so I never know which pen is which. I've labeled all of them myself, which was not my favorite task. But this is great. They have a card and they have a swatch card. So I'm going to swatch all of the cards on here, of all of the markers on here, so that I can exactly see what they look like. I love this. Seems to be a great selection of colors as well. And then it opens up like this. Woo! So there is a ton of pens in here. So let's just take one and see what it looks like. We have a brush. Let me have my beauty vlogger moment. Does that work? Does that work? Oh well. It has a brush. And then we have a fine liner. So that's actually a combination that I really like, a fine liner and a brush, because the fine liner is great for writing and the brush for drawing. The fine liner may also be nice to like draw lines and stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. Ooh, there's also a blending marker. I never know how to use these. I should probably like look up a tutorial for this, like how to use a colorless blender. I always see people doing fancy stuff with them, but I'm never one of those people. Okay, but what I'm gonna do, oh yeah, and there's another thing. They also sent me this, and I may be even more excited about this because these are dot markers. And you may be wondering, why would you need to make a dot? Am I just gonna get all of them out? Maybe. I'm gonna mute this. That was probably very loud, so I will probably have muted that. Oh, there's so many colors. I love this. Okay, so let me just grab a piece of scrap paper. So with these dot markers, you have a small fine liner marker thing that you can just like draw a line with. But then you also have this. This is a dot, a circle, and you can make dots. You can also draw a line, obviously, and it's going to be a thick line. But you can make like a tiny dot and a bigger dot, like depending on how much pressure you apply. And this is great for like habit trackers and for making checklists and just, I mean, you can also make art with this and like color things in, but it's so functional. You can use them basically the same way you would use a like circle sticker, which I often find myself doing like around a date or just to mark something or to color code something. And it's just so much easier to do that with like colored brush pens. And there seems to be a ton of colors in here. Some of them look kind of metallic. Are these metallic? They are. Let's see if you can see that. Woo! Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna put them back in the little case. Yes, okay. I will, by the way, also link the products down below in the description if you wanted to check them out for yourself. So what I'm going to do in this book using the markers is, first of all, I'm going to use this page, the yearly schedule. Let me use a clip. I have for once brought my clips to my desk. Because this book, like, it's a hardcover, so it doesn't really lay flat that well. It will probably get better over time. This page I'm going to use to color code on which language I spent any time that day. And I'm going to do that with these colored dot markers. So the idea is that if we have, for example, like we have January, like 1st, which is like the Wednesday, and then we have January 2nd, which is like the Tuesday. If I have done, like, for example, any Japanese on Wednesday, I will like put down a dot. And then maybe let's get the yellow one. Let's say this is Italian. Maybe on Tuesday I have done some Italian. I will place another dot. And maybe I've also done some Japanese on Thursday. I mean, so I put like a green dot as well, which is why I'm not using like the bigger markers to color in, for example, the entire line, because maybe I spent some time on more than one language. So using the dots, I mean, I guess there's room for like 5 dots, which I'm never gonna have to use on one day, but maybe 2. Maybe I spent some time studying Japanese, but then I listened to like an Italian podcast on the train. So that might be something. Do these have a number? I don't think these do. I might have to figure out if the dot markers have a corresponding other marker. Like, let's see. Are these the same? They don't look the same. They might be the same. Maybe this one or this one. Let me just swatch these on the scrap paper because I would like to use dot markers that have a corresponding brush marker, because that way I can sort of use the same color coding throughout. Oh, this does look pretty similar. It's a bit more cabbagey. Then we have this color. It's a bit more olivey, maybe? Yeah, and this is definitely lighter. I think the first one is actually closest, which is this one. So I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to declare these two Japanese. I'm going to use these for anything Japanese. So this one is 92 Veronese green, and the dot marker doesn't have a number, at least not that I can see. So let's make a little, let's make a key up here. So this one is gonna be Japanese. And then there's at least 2 other languages that I want to focus on in the next year. Maybe I might add something, maybe something may become less of a focus. But at least want to focus on Japanese, which is something I've been studying for a long time, but making very little progress in. I also want to focus on Italian, which is something that I studied at university. So I was actually quite good at it. I was, well, kind of fluent actually. But I haven't used it much. So I really want to get back into it and review some stuff. And then another thing is German, which is something that German is a bit of a weird language for me because my passive German is really good. I can listen to German, like TV, radio, podcasts quite well, but I barely speak it. And I think that's because I took a couple of years of German in high school, which was obligatory. But for almost my entire life, I've lived so close to the German border that I was always just really exposed to the language. My parents speak a local dialect that has a lot of similarities with German. Of course, my native language, Dutch, is also somewhat similar, at least part of the same language family. So there's a lot of reasons why German isn't too hard to understand for me, but that definitely doesn't mean that I can speak it well, because I often lack the vocabulary. I don't know how to conjugate things. And I would really like to sort of bridge that gap and make sure that when someone says something to me, I can actually respond in a somewhat reasonable sentence. So let's see. This yellow dot is going to be Italian. And then what do we want for German? I think blue. Something blue. These seem very similar. So I'm going to use these 2 markers. This is going to be Italian. And then I want a blue. What options do we have? We have tons of blues. We even have a shiny blue. I'm not going to use the metallic blue though. I want to use this blue, I think. This one's too dark. Okay, yeah. Either of those. Whatever I can find a good companion color for. More swatching. I'm going to put on... I'm just going to try this for a second. No, this does not make it better. The lighting is horrible today. It's super gloomy again. I mean, what's new? Ooh, this is a fair bit darker. Yeah, this one's quite similar. It's not exactly the same, but close enough, close enough. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use these two for German. And then we have also room for maybe something new that I might come up with. So this is going to be German. And I think the cool thing is with German that I have the most opportunities to actually practice it because I still live very close. Well, actually, again, live very close to the German border. I didn't for a couple years, but since 2 years, we live very close to the German border, like 2 kilometers maybe. So that's absolutely nothing. We often do our grocery shopping and like getting like gas for our car. We do that in Germany, which is a very common thing to do when you live very close to the border in the Netherlands. So yeah, I should have the most opportunities to practice it. So that's a nice motivation. Obviously the year hasn't started yet. Well, maybe if the video goes live, it has, but not while I'm setting this up. So I don't know what I'll be doing on the 1st of January besides sleeping in. But I'm definitely excited to start focusing more on languages again. It's always something that I've really adored. Then we have this, and I'm going to use the same colors on the monthly page to mark in some study time and some goals. So I have thought about 3 goals for January because you get these 3 paw prints at the bottom, and I thought those would be nice to use for goals. And I'm just going to use the fine liner so that they are already color coded, and I'm going to write them down. One of the goals is to do 1 chapter of Bunpo, which is a Japanese learning app that I have on my phone, to do 1 chapter a week. For January, my goals are all very low key. Everything's going to be something that I can do really, really easily, but I'm just really trying to build a habit again. So 1 chapter Bunpo. So 1 chapter of Bunpo a week. And then I want to study 3 kanji per week. So kanji are the more complicated characters in Japanese. And 3 kanji is like really not a lot, seeing as how there are thousands and thousands of kanji. But again, we are trying to build a habit. And then for Italian, I want to listen to 1 podcast a week. I'm not really going to do any German in January. I might do that, but it's not a goal. I think having 3 languages as goals in the first month is a bit too much. So I want to listen to 1 Italian podcast a week. Okay, so picking yellow as a color to write with was probably not my brightest idea, as you can barely read it, and I can barely read it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use the brush pen side to sort of allocate some time. This planner is very much an experiment in how I want to use it. I'm not completely sure what's going to be helpful and what's going to be motivating and anything like that. So what I'm going to do for this week is just block some time to work on a specific language. So on Wednesday, I want to do some Japanese, and on Saturday. And then on Thursday, I want to listen to an Italian podcast on the way to and from work. I may have some time on Sunday or Friday as well, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm just going to do this every week to, like, when I'm planning for the week, during the weekend, I look forward to the next week and I'm going to say, okay, what language do I want to spend some time on? I may add some notes below the color. For example, to say what I want to work on. Is it going to be like the Bunpo chapter? Is it going to be kanji? Is it going to be a podcast? Or maybe a time goal. I want to do 1 hour or something like that. Then for the weekly pages, I'm going to log exactly what I did for that language, because I always find it super motivating to keep what is sometimes called an anti-to-do list, which is basically just a log of the things that you did. So instead of planning ahead and checking things off, you're just logging what you did. And I find that very motivating to keep building the list. So when I have like 2 dots, I'll be like, maybe I can do one more thing and it's going to look a bit fuller. And that way I can motivate myself to do a little bit more instead of, oh, I still have so many things that I need to do. I don't know. It's very much a psychological thing, but I suppose all planning is. I think I could do this for today, but I haven't done anything today. Well, that's not entirely true. I did Duolingo today for Japanese, which wasn't really a lot of effort, but you know, it's still worth tracking. So I'm just gonna put a dot here. Again, that same green dot, which signifies Japanese, and I'm just gonna write Duolingo. All right. And then we go to the back pages, which has just empty pages. And what I'm going to do here actually is, well, first clip this and this. And here I'm going to make a tracker for some of my resources. So today I'm just going to make one tracker for one resource. And that way I can just sort of, well, track, obviously, that's in the word. But I can track how much progress I'm making, which chapters I still need to do. It just helps me to have that visual breakdown of the entire resource. Like it can be a book, an app, a number of episodes from a podcast, just anything that you want to complete. I find it very helpful to have like a visual breakdown of all the separate elements. So that is what I'm going to do on these pages, starting with the one resource that I know I want to complete fairly quickly because it's not too big and it will just really help me review some of the basic Japanese materials that I've already studied in the past, but that I've forgotten for a very big part. And then also just build that habit of taking time, setting time apart to study. So the resource I'll be tracking here is the Bunpo app. wondering if maybe I can use some more colors, because I have so many colors now and I just really want to use them all. But I also want to stick to my color coding scheme. Maybe if Japanese is green, maybe I can use various greens. Or I can pick a color like brown that I can combine with all the other ones just for a bit of a visual interest. I might do that. I'm going to pick brown. Is this a good brown? It's a bit grayish. What else do we have? We have this brown. Ooh, I like that better. And we have this brown. I also like that brown, but it's a bit dark maybe. But it does look nice. I'm going to use the lighter one. So I'm going to pair this one and probably the dot marker to make some sort of tracker for the resource. What if... No. Let me think for a second. Okay, I've been thinking. I have a plan. So I'm just going to freehand the title of the resource. That went reasonably well. Then I'm going to add a line. No, I'm going to do a line around the entire resource. But first I'm going to break it down. I'm going to make sort of checkboxes using the dot markers. So chapter 1 has 5 paragraphs. So I'm going to do 5 dots for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then chapter 2 has 3. So I'm going to do 3. And I'm going to continue that. You know what? I haven't checked at all whether these markers bleed through the paper or no. Oh, luckily they don't. There's a fair bit of ghosting, but that's okay. I'm used to ghosting with the thinner types of paper that I use. And then I'm going to draw a box around this. Am I going to use the brown? Maybe I don't want to add another color. Yeah, but the brown would look nice. I'm going to do the brown. But I'm going to do the fine liner side. I'm just going to freehand this for the freehand look. I actually like this. This looks nice. Am I going to give the box a little drop shadow? I am. I may completely ruin it now, but I'm still going to do it. Do we have something very light? I don't think we actually have a very light gray. Okay, I'm lying. This is fairly light. Yeah, this is light enough. Okay, I'm going to give it a tiny drop shadow on the right and bottom. This looks all right. You know what? This is not a masterpiece, but it feels really nice to be using something else than stickers and washi tape for once and just drawing in simple stuff. I'm really, really planning on not being too perfectionistic with this planner, which I think will really help with just doing some illustrations and like just some line work and, you know, not being too precious. Maybe I should write that down as a goal somewhere. But yeah, this works nice. I like this. I also, do I want to illustrate like my language goals for the year? Maybe. Let's talk about it. At least let's do one. Let's do Japanese because this is already Japanese. Do I have a place for goals? No. So I'm going to do that on this page, maybe? Do we have a good page for that? Or am I just going to do it on the inside of the cover? Well, that way I would see it every day, so that would be nice, actually. Maybe I should. You know what? I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to write them down on the cover. It feels like quite thick paper as well, so we should be fine. So I'm just going to do one for Japanese. And for Japanese, I want to... It's going to be quite a high goal, but I want to reach N4 level by the end of the year. So right now I have somewhere like slightly below N5. I passed the N5 exam, but I passed it barely. And there's still lots of catch up to do because otherwise I'm building on a very weak foundation. So I still need to like brush up on my N5 materials and then I can finally start some N4. But how am I going to put that here? Let's just say I'm going to write down. I'm going to write it down with this black marker because that way it's nice and bold. I don't know if it's the paper or the marker, but I went over that little star quite a few times with the marker, and you don't really get that feeling that you sometimes get with some markers that they start like, how do you say that? Like the paper fibers start to come loose and you have to be careful of not like going through the paper. But then again, I'm also doing this on quite thick paper, so maybe it's just that, but that feels quite nice actually. And then I'm just going to add some dots around this to sort of make a dot cloud. I just really like the dot markers. You'll just have to live with that. could have thought about the spacing a little more, but it's okay. I still like it. These dot markers are just really fun. All right, yeah. Ooh, I'm thinking if I do this with some of the other ones, like Italian and German, and also make like little clowns around them with like the yellow, wait, this is blue, the yellow and the blue, and then I can fill up all of the remaining space with a neutral like gray, and it'll look really cool. But I still need to think about my goals for German and Italian. And maybe I also want to leave some room because goals can change and you can add to goals as well over the year. So for now, I'm just going to do this. This looks a little unfinished, I suppose, but I just really need to think a bit harder about my goals, and I don't want to just write in another goal and regret it later. So yeah. Yep, I'm really happy that I finally wrote something in this planner, because now the barrier of entry is just so much lower and it's so much easier to just start actually using this little book. I'm so really happy that I got it. Yeah, I may also do a little swatch page in the back with like some of the Ohuhu markers, just so that I can get a better feel of what all of these colors are and which ones correspond best to some of the colors from like the dot marker pack. I will say I'm a little sad that the dot markers don't have a color name and a number. It would have been neat if they had one and like it corresponded to one of the markers in this set, but I'm really glad with the color variety I got here. This is making me very excited to get back into drawing some more stuff. So yeah, I think these are a great alternative for some of the more expensive markers. They behave very well. Of course, I can't say how long they will hold up, how much ink they have, but I feel like they feel like really good quality. So yeah, if you're curious about them, definitely check them out. And I would love to hear if language learning is something that you enjoy. I'm guessing you do, because otherwise maybe you wouldn't have sat through this entire video. And I would love to hear what languages you are focusing on. Is there a language that you've been learning for ages that you want to get better at this year? Is there something new that you're starting? Are you learning a language because you just really enjoy the language, or maybe you want to learn it because you're traveling somewhere, you're going to study abroad, you have someone in your life who speaks that language and who you want to communicate with? I think languages are just super fascinating, and I keep saying that whenever I retire, which is not until at least like 35 years or so from now, but I would love to just fill my entire time studying languages and just playing the piano. Those are like the things that I would do. Where's my gray marker? Did I just... Oh, it's the black. It's here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye!